Hi, let's learn how to calculate acreage using a government survey system legal description.
The government survey system. To create the government system, 37 intersecting principal meridian lines and baselines are positioned throughout the United States. A grid of intersecting lines are created, working out from the primary reference lines. The lines are spaced 6 miles apart. Townships. The intersection of two range lines and two township lines form a township, which measures 6 miles by 6 miles, or 36 square miles. Sections. Intersection of two range lines and two township lines form a 6-mile square called a township. Each township is 6 miles by 6 miles, or 36 square miles. Within each township, there are 36 sections, each measuring 1 mile by 1 mile, or 1 square mile. Numbering sections. Each section is identified as a number from 1 to 36, locating it within the township. The point of the system is to identify where a property is that someone owns. Property owners rarely own as much as 36 square miles, the size of an entire township. Therefore, townships are divided into 36 sections, which are each measuring 1 mile squared, or 1 mile by 1 mile, or 1 square mile, and are called sections. Section 1 is at the top far right. Section 2 is the section to the left of 1, and so forth to Section 6. Section 7 is 1 down or south of Section 6. The numbering continues in this serpentine pattern, ending with Section 36 at the bottom right. Calculating acreage. In addition to this legal description identifying the location of the property, it also tells how big it is. We can calculate the acreage of the southwest 1/2 of the southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 1, T2S R3W of the Tallahassee Principal Meridian and Baseline. Section 1, T2S R3W of the Tallahassee Principal Meridian and Baseline equals 640 acres. Starting at Section 1 of T2S R3W, the northeast 1/4 of Section 1 means that 640 is quartered and equals 160 acres, or 640 divided by 4 equals 160. Then 160 acres was quartered again, indicated by the southeast 1/4, leaving us with 40 acres. 160 divided by 4 equals 40. Finally, the 40 acres was cut in half, indicated by the south 1/2 in our legal description, and 40 divided by 2 equals 20, leaving a total of 20 acres in this property as described with this legal description. Calculator tip. To work the above with a calculator, simply enter 640 into your calculator whenever you're starting with the section. Starting at the right of your legal description, find the first denominator of the fraction of your section. In this case, it is 4, so you divide 640 by 4. Look to the left and find the next denominator. Keep entering the divide sign and the denominators until the last denominator is entered, and hit equal. For example, with this legal description on the far right where it says Section 1, you would put 640 in your calculator, you would hit the divide symbol, and looking to the left you see the first 4 for the denominator after the northeast 1/4. That denominator in that fraction there would be the 4 that you would enter into your calculator. So you've taken 640 divided by the 4. You look to the left again to find another denominator, so you divide by 4 again. Look to the left to see if there's anything else, and you have another denominator of the 2, so you divide by 2. Then you've run out of your legal description, no more denominators, so you hit equal, and you have 20 as the size of your property, which is a much faster and easier way to get there than trying to graph it out. So restating that, the first denominator entered is found at the far right, and you work your problem from right to left. As shown here, you're starting with the 640 divided by 4, which matches up to the that 1/4 that is highlighted for you. The second denominator entered is the next denominator found, working from right to left. As you can see there with the yellow highlights, matching up the 4 that was entered into the calculator. with the process continuing until the last denominator has been entered, and in this case, that's a 2 instead of a 4. As shown here, highlighted would be the 2 that you're putting into the calculator, which corresponded with the end or the beginning of your legal description as you're working it, the south 1/2, also highlighted. Exercise 1, calculating size. How many acres are in the legal description? The west 1/2 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 15 of township 25 south, range 2 west. Solution, calculating size. So we have the west 1/2 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 15, township 25 south, range 2 west. Notice that although the words are written out as compared to the previous example, the process is actually the same to solve. Step 1, enter 640 in your calculator. Step 2, working right to left, divide by the denominators. Step 3, once all the denominators have been accounted for, hit enter. So we have 640 divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 2 equals 5 acres. So 5 acres would be the answer. Exercise 2, calculating size. How many acres are in the legal description? The northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 4 of township 45 south, range 20 east. Solution 2, calculating size. How many acres are in the legal description? The northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 4 of township 45 south, range 20 east. Okay, so with this one, we had a pretty long legal description that seemed to go on, right? But the process is exactly the same. You're going to go to the far right to find the actual section of the township. You're going to enter 640 into your calculator, and then working to the left, you're going to keep entering the denominator until you run out, and then you would hit equal. So we have 640 divided by 4, 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 divided by 4 equals 0.15625 of an acre, which, by the way, this would be a small city parcel, maybe very realistic for a city, a little small for a suburban parcel, but not too bad for some of the original city lots. So making this a very realistic property description for a regular lot. The word "and" in legal descriptions. Properties rarely fit into the perfect world of quartered sections, so it is common to have a legal description that adds together land from one section to land from another section. This requires identifying the property just as we have already demonstrated. However, the process is repeated for each section that is part of the owner's land and added together within the written description by using an "and." Here's an example. The south one half of the southeast one quarter of the northeast one quarter of section 1 of Township 2 SR3W and the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter of section 6 of T2S R3W. The image on the following slide will show the areas of the legal description separated by the "and" are in two sections of two different townships. Calculating acreage with an "and." Calculate the size of a legal description that contains the word "and." The process is basically the same as working one without the "and." What's different is that there are two different calculations which you must perform and then total the answers of each calculation together. Each part of the legal description separated by an "and" is calculated on its own using the method previously taught. Then the answers are totaled, which will give you the final and total size of the property. So the legal description, the south one half of the southeast one quarter of the northeast one quarter of section 1 T2S R3W and the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter of section 6 T2S R2W is calculated by working each side of the "and" separately. And here we have the exact same legal description as just presented. However, I've added the highlights showing you where the "and" is separating the legal description, giving you the two formulas that you're going to work separately and then add together to come up with your solution of the area size. So, working from right to left, calculate the size of the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter of section 6 T2S R2W using the calculator method, putting 640 into your calculator, dividing by 4, dividing by 4, dividing by 4 to equal 10 acres. And then, working also from right to left, calculate the size of the south one half of the southeast one quarter of the northeast one quarter of section 1 T2S R3W. Putting into your calculator 640 divided by 4 divided by 4 divided by 2 equaling 20 acres. Third, you then add the sums together for the total acreage of the property. So your 10 plus your 2 equals 30 acres total. So the south 1/2 of the southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of section 1 T2S R3W and the southwest 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 6 T2S R2W equals 30 acres. Exercise 1, calculating size, width, and. How many acres are in the legal description? The southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 4, the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 4 of township 45 south, range 20 east. Solution 1, calculating size with and. The southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 4 and the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of section 4 of township 45 south, range 20 east. To work this problem, even though the legal description is fairly long, it's the exact same process that we have already been using. So you're going to go to the very far right until you find your township that you're working with, bump to the left just a little bit till you find your section, and we're working with section 4 there of township 45 south, range 20. And at that point, you're going to enter 640 in your calculator. And entering 640 is your official step 1 of your calculator math process. And then working right to left, divide by the denominators that you see. But with step 3, remember that once you see the word and in the legal description, to go ahead and hit enter, because the and is signifying the end of that first math process. So in this case, you're going to take 640, look to the left, so you're going to divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. At that point, you do see the word and. So you hit enter into your calculator. Your calculator is going to show you 2.5, so you're going to write 2.5 down. And then step 4, because we saw the word and we cleared our calculator, we're going to clear our calculator so we can enter 640 into the calculator to start the process again. So step 5 tells us, working right to left, we continue to divide by our denominators. And then once all the denominators are accounted for in the description, step 6 tells us to hit enter again. 640 divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, again gives us 2.5, representing 2.5 acres. The same number that we had before, because we are showing the same exact denominators, but we do have two separate answers of 2.5. Our seventh and final step then is to total the sums. So we take our 2.5 and we add the other 2.5 to give us a total of 5 acres. My biggest test taking tip for working acreage calculations from legal descriptions is to watch for the and. This may seem like a simple thing, and you may understand that and means to do two different calculations and then add the results together. But when it comes to testing, I have seen many students roll right past the word and keep entering denominators into their calculator. So slow down and double check yourself. Before you start working the problem, look to see if there is an and. That way you'll have it set in your mind as to how to work it before you even start entering the numbers into your calculator.